Yen can be scary. I'm here to help it be just a little less scary.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, collectors. It's going to be Steven here, and today I got a very interesting video, at least I think, and so do my patrons over on Patreon. Every month we do what's called a Patron's Pick, and this was voted to be the video for the Patron's Pick. So kudos. Awesome. 2 big thumbs up. Also, I'm recording this on a different device. It's a phone. So let me know about video quality down below in the comments, and I'd like to hear your feedback. So I'm going to try doing some new things over the next few weeks and see what those results come up with. All right, so today we're going to be talking about yen. It's not a financial advice video, just giving you some things to keep in mind when you go to import your stuff, when you're considering ordering from a US retailer or distribution and so forth. Now, admittedly, this is going to be through the lens of someone in the United States, and not everything is necessarily going to be relevant for someone in the UK, someone in Australia, but the general concept of exchange rate may be used if you are outside of the US. Okay? All right. So first and foremost, yen. How do you figure it out? Go to Google. 1 space USD space TO space JPY. Enter. That's how you figure out the current exchange rate. Okay? Historically, if you need to see the exchange rate for a particular point in time, you can also ask Google that as well, and you'll be good to go. At the time of recording, the current exchange rate is 133 yen to $1. Okay, pretty solid, not too bad. Now, I picked these 3 here because they were just kind of chilling around my studio. We have Goku, 3,500 yen at MSRP, Shin Godzilla, 15,000 yen at MSRP, Figma Doom Guy, 11,400 yen, I think. Cool. US retail, 35, 150, 120. Now, that's just to help set up the stage for what we're going to be talking about at some of the points moving forward. Now, yen, as I just talked about, the exchange rate is what it is today. It is what it is. Now, the exchange rate can change. So, sometimes when you see that when figures are announced, this is part 1. When figures are announced and pre-orders go up, you may see people talk about price. You'll see that people talk about Goku. Oh, he went up for pre-order. He's $35. Great. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pre-order him. Shin Godzilla went up. He's $150. Oh, that's great. I'm going to pre-order him. So that's cool. But when he goes up for pre-order, that is the price with the exchange rate at that time. I can't tell you how many times I've had something go up for pre-order. I get the invoice to pay, and then with shipping, here's where we're at, and here's the original price. Exchange rate completely throws everything off. Why is that? Because when Goku gets announced, maybe we're at $1 to, let's just go ahead and say 100 JPY, right? Well, what happens if we're at 120 JPY? What happens to the price then? Oh, now we're at something completely different. What about Shin Godzilla here? This is something that's very important because this will go into our next point. So Shin Godzilla, 15,000 yen, 150 USD, if we were to go for the flat 100 JPY. Well, by today's metrics, he would be at about $120. Pretty solid. But when he went up for pre-order, he would be $150. Oh, so he's $30 cheaper. So Bandai changed the price? No, they did not. The exchange rate changed and Shin became cheaper. But his yen price did not change. So, for those in the United States who imported, we paid less with USD, but those in Japan, they paid the same amount. Nothing changed, okay? The exchange rate just changed. Same thing with the Figma Doom Guy. There were a lot of people in the US, they were saying, oh, this is a $120 figure, this is a $120 figure, this is a $120 figure. Well, yes, but you have to really keep in mind that when you are looking at Japanese product, this will bleed into another point, not necessarily two. We really have to look at it at the lens that this is yen we're looking at, not necessarily USD. But when we do want to take a look at USD for North American distribution, which this will be point two, we really have to look at exactly how we're going to be spending our money and exactly what may be the best way to show support. So at point two, how exactly do these get into the US? Well, that kind of shoots off into different points from there. So first and foremost, if you're going to be importing them, right? Again, price for the actual item will change based on exchange rate. So if Goku's going to be 3,500 yen when he goes up for pre-order and exchange rate is 1 to 100, keep in mind that if it shoots up and the yen gets weaker or the dollar gets stronger and it changes to 120 yen, then, well, you're going to be paying a little bit less for Goku if you were to import. But then you have to keep in mind that there may be shipping prices. Keep in mind to the current global state, because there could be, an assassination attempt on a previous prime minister who is very much so willing to just go ahead and print yen to make the yen weaker. We'll talk about this a bit more in a few seconds here. And that may happen. International shipping rates may get hiked up, so you may be paying more on the shipping, which may counterbalance that out. So that is something to keep in mind. You may have to pay more in shipping, but what exactly are you paying more in? You're going to have to work out those numbers yourself. The second part, US distribution. So here's going to be a little bit of historical with the current modern day stuff. So for Tamashii Nation's product, we also did have Good Smile here dabbling around with a few different companies. I think Ultra Tokyo Connection is who they currently use. I'm not quite 100% sure off the top of my head, but nevertheless. So back when Tamashii Nation product was originally brought over to the US, Bluefin Distribution, when they were their own company, they were able to lock in rates with Tamashii Nations at the exchange rate when the item was announced. So for an example, the original SH Monster Arts Godzilla was 5,500 yen, but its MSRP in the US was 67.99. Huh? Jump ahead to Godzilla vs. Kong, the latest MonsterVerse movie. That Godzilla is 6,600 yen, 1,100 yen more, and he's 67.99. Huh? 2011, 2021. We have an 1,100 yen difference, and they're the same price in the US. But if you look at the Japanese yen price, they're different. How does that happen? Well, once again, back in 2011, the yen was fluctuating between 75 to $1 up to like 90 to $1. So yen was basically, it was doing this, which is what Abe was trying to fix, right? So at that time, 5,500 yen was about $68. But when you move forward to 2021, 67.99 fits, because back then, again, what Bluefin was able to do is lock in prices at the exchange rate then. So if the exchange rate were to have changed significantly, and it would have been 1 USD to 100 yen, well, it wouldn't have changed the price in the US to be $55. We would have just had to have paid $67.99. It is what it is. But if it would have gotten weaker, well, then we would have only have paid $67.99, despite the fact that now that 5,500 yen item would have actually been worth like $100. But now, if you take a look at some prices, so again, we just talked about Shin Godzilla. His price is going to be about $120 if you were to go by current immediate today exchange rate, right? Well, his US MSRP, the yen hasn't changed that much since this was announced, so he's pretty much always been $120 at exchange rate, but his US MSRP is about $150. So how exactly does that happen? Well, Bandai Namco Toys and Collectibles America, Bandai Collect for short, now, since Bluefin Distribution changed to Bluefin Brands, owned by Bandai, purchased by Bandai, and now is fully integrated, they seem to be using a 100 yen to 1 USD model, which is fair. When you factor in importing, when you factor in taking care of shipping, when you factor in. So, That's the rate that they're using. They're using a flat rate to help take care of wild exchange rate swings and so forth. And then also, if you think about it like video games, I don't know, the latest Pokemon game may be 6550 yen in Japan. But when it's brought here to the United States, you don't pay based on that swinging exchange rate. You just pay the flat $60, soon to be 70. It's a whole other topic. So there's not really a big issue with paying that wild change in exchange rate. You just pay the US MSRP, which is fine. So that's kind of what we have going on here as well. Okay, so we talked about what it looks like for exchange rate having the possibility of swinging, because you may have the chance for an item to go up at price, right? And then you have the invoice that comes in and you realize, oh, hey, that $150 item at announcement is now $120. That's because the world turns and exchange rate changes. Then we have, if you're in the US and you go to actually buy stuff, you can import and you have to factor in, well, we do have international things that happen. So we have to factor in shipping and we have to factor in US distribution. These two are together, which, okay, so when they bring stuff over, they have their own means of setting their exchange rate, which isn't exactly going to be the same as just whatever the world trade change, exchange, whatever the thing is, whatever the rates are going. All right. How do you pay? What's the method? Well, this kind of goes into the not financial advice territory, right? Everybody has their own methods. You need to figure this out on your own, because if you're on the internet, you need to figure out your own credit card situation and your own PayPal situation. Here's my experience with it, okay? First and foremost, PayPal can automatically do a conversion and exchange for you, okay? So if you get an invoice or you're asked to send money in yen, there's a drop down you can select if you're sending money through PayPal, but if you get an invoice in yen, it can pay on its own. They do not use the current immediate exchange rate though. So let's say it's 133 yen by today's current exchange rate. They may do like 128 yen. That is something to keep in mind. Now, credit cards, sometimes they'll go ahead and they'll do the exchange for you, and you can do the charge in yen or any other foreign currency. Some cards, they don't. If the card does, they may charge you a service fee. If they charge you a service fee, it could be equivalent to, like, let's say PayPal doing 128 yen instead of the current day 133 yen. So make sure you're reading the fine print on that. Or, like for me, I have an Amazon Visa card. There's no fee for foreign currencies. So I pay what the current exchange rate is for all my import stuff. It's finally something good for Amazon. Now with PayPal, there is a setting that you can just bypass PayPal using the currency conversion and exchange rates, and you can just have the card issuer do it. So you can go into your PayPal settings and do that. So whenever I have an invoice, I just automatically just have my card issuer do it, and I use my Amazon Visa. So if you do have a credit card, that is one of the perks you can look into. But if you have a PayPal account, you can just go ahead and you can use your PayPal to automatically charge anything in yen or any other foreign currency. Yep. That's good. Now, fourth point. Don't be scared. It's money. You know how to manage money. You know how to buy things in yen. If you're worried about middleman stuff, go ahead. Put it into Google. Do your own research. It's not that difficult. Don't be scared. It takes a little bit of learning, but I think with those simple things, so understanding that exchange rate, you just throw it into Google. You can pull out the information that you have. Understanding that there are outside factors that impact shipping and impacting the price when things go up for pre-order that don't really impact the price, but change what the exchange rate is. US MSRP will be set differently from what the actual exchange rate is. And there are multiple ways that you can pay for stuff in yen. I think that'll be a good starting point for people who are looking to get into the import action figure game. If you have any questions, I will be monitoring this video for the next several months to see if there's anyone who has any questions, and I'll be more than happy to not only answer those questions, but do a part 2 if it's necessary to help clear up some things if needed. So thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to the patrons who voted for this patron's pick. I really do appreciate it. These videos are fun. And if you're interested in voting for the next one or any of the future ones, you can hop on over to Patreon at any tier and you can vote when those votes go up. In the meantime, here's the end card so you can check out some other videos while you wait. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will catch ya in the next video.